Well, good morning to all of you. Welcome back to Namaste Village this beautiful Friday morning. And this morning, of course, we are in the midst of our Mind of the Mystics series. And reading or experiencing the mystics can sometimes show us how we cling to the need for attention for our identity to be acknowledged. Anybody relate? The need to be acknowledged, for people to pay attention to us. But what I've realized, and what we're going to be sharing a little bit here today, is that when we're always seeking attention, there is a tension in our mind that holds us back from reality itself. And it's only when we stop seeking attention that that tension is released. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We're not here to try to constantly say, look at me. That's the attention. Hey, Maha. That's the attention that we're always trying to acknowledgement. I want you to acknowledge me, to acknowledge who I think I am, but not who I really am. Because if you're acknowledging the truth of who I am, it becomes a universal expression and extension and acknowledgement. And I'm not getting the specific attention that I need in my identity. Anybody relate? We're always seeking attention. But once again, that creates a tension that we don't recognize, we don't really see until we do. And we only see this when we surrender, when we let go, when we begin to dissolve that need to have my identity be the acknowledged presence rather than that I am presence that we share. So in the midst of this mystics, the Mind of the Mystics series, we want to talk today about the contemplative life and how that is the act of removing ourselves from that need to seek the attention that creates attention. And of course, we're going to be with Thomas Merton again today. And but before we go there, let's go ahead and we'll do the meditation that we've been sharing all week. So go ahead and take a deep breath. Get comfortable in your chair. Take a couple of deep breaths again. And as I say each one of these lines, just repeat it mentally. And every time you do repeat it, just feel yourself going deeper and deeper. Be still and know I am God. Be still and know I am. Be still and know. Be still. Be. Take a deep breath. And so we now open our hearts, we open our minds, no longer seeking attention of the ego or the split mind or the identity, but allowing ourselves to open so completely that the wholeness of my true I am consciousness steps forward. This alone is seen. This alone is known and fully expressed. This has become our only goal now. And so it is. Okay. So we talked a little bit about Thomas Merton yesterday and how he was a bit of a rascal and ultimately decided to enter a monastery and in many ways to disappear. When one enters a monastery, there is a literal disappearance. They enter a cloister that they are never meant to leave. In fact, in the Benedictine tradition, which the Cistercian monasteries are part of, they follow the rule of St. Benedict. Usually there are 3 vows that one takes when they enter into religious life traditionally. Those vows are poverty, chastity, and obedience. You've probably heard that before. But when you're entering a monastery, you take another vow, which is called stability, which means that you never leave the monastery that you enter. You don't move to another monastery if things start to get rough or you start to have personality conflicts. You stay. You disappear. You dissolve. And this was obviously very attractive to someone like Thomas Merton and very challenging when he became famous. His need to dissolve became, and the way that he expressed that became so powerful for people that he became the most famous spiritual writer in the world. And here he's trying to just dissolve into God. In fact, I'll share the quote that we're going to be working with today. You don't need to write it down quite yet. Just listen to this for a moment and see if you can feel this desire. I have only one desire, and that is the desire for solitude. To disappear into God. To be submerged in God's peace. To be lost in the secret of God's face. To be lost in the secret of God's face. Isn't that beautiful? I've really been reflecting deeply on this myself lately. As many of you know, about, 2 years ago now, maybe even more, I entered my own kind of monastery or enclosure, that area right back there. I set the goal of being an anchorite for a year, to enter into that little enclosure and not to leave for a whole year, and to spend all of my time in that same contemplative energy that Merton sought, that we all seek. And what I found when I was there, as powerful as it was, that egoic split mind constantly asserted itself to maintain the, the dominance of the identity by distracting itself. If I can just watch another YouTube clip, if I can just even write another book, write one more song. I think I wrote 2 or 3 books when I was back there. I think I recorded 2 CDs and even directed an animated movie, all in 6 months. Talk about distraction. Whatever I can do to keep from looking deeply within, to keep from, as Merton says, getting lost in the secret of God's face. So as I've been reflecting on this recently and even deciding to spend these 2 weeks focusing on the mind of the mystics so that we can adopt that same mind, I've been realizing that this container that we call Namaste Village, and this doesn't just include the people who live here, but anyone who joins us, we are being called to a similar point of submersion. I like that he even uses that word, to be submerged in God's peace, to be submerged in God's peace, to be lost in the secret of God's face. So each one of us has our own path into that, though. No one is being asked to enter into an anchor hold. No one is being asked to to a particular thing, but to open up to the thing that calls to them, the path that calls to them to submerge, to dive within. I actually, a few days ago, went and changed our Namaste Village website. In describing who we are, I actually changed it to say that we are a contemplative non-dual community. And we're each going to have our own way of expressing that contemplation. But I really think that that's what we are here. We're always, like we did the other night in our meeting, we're trying to find who we are, what our identity is. But really, it's just to keep submerging ourselves, just to keep dissolving, to let go of that need to seek attention. See, this is all the ego does. It seeks attention. Look at me, instead of look at thee. But we have to recognize that, we have to see that and acknowledge that before we can take the step that Merton is taking here. So if you have your pad, I'm going to go ahead and read this very slowly so you can write this down. And then I'll read to you what I added to it, and then we'll let a few of you do the same. Here we go. I have only one desire. One desire. And that is the desire for solitude. I have only one desire, and that is the desire for solitude. To disappear into God. To disappear into God. To be submerged in God's peace. To be submerged in God's peace. To be lost in the secret of God's face. So I'm going to read to you what I wrote after that, and then we'll give you the opportunity to add your own unique voice to this. Where to go?
Can you say the last sentence again?
Sure, I'll read the whole thing one more time. I have only one desire, and that is the desire for solitude. To disappear into God. To be submerged in God's peace. To be lost in the secret of God's face. The attention I have sought until now has built a tension in my mind that I cannot release on my own. But I long for it to be released. And so I surrender to the dissolving power of love. I am like the salt figure which rests at the edge of the ocean, losing more and more of itself as each wave washes over the top of it. Do not abandon me in this desire, beloved, and I will continue to rest in you just as you have always made a resting place within me. So now, just let that sink into you. Let yourself be submerged in that same energy. And as you do, listen deeply and add your own unique voice to that line from Merton. Let me know myself in thee. Let me know myself in thee. Nothing more, nothing more. Let me know myself in thee. Let me know myself in thee. Let me know myself in thee. Nothing more, nothing more. Let me know myself in thee. Let me know myself in thee. Let me know myself in thee. Nothing more, more, nothing more. Let me know myself in thee. Okay. So whoever at Namaste Village here, maybe a couple of people who have not shared yet, would like to come up and share their own unique expression. Esmeralda, come on up. Here she comes. Do you need the quote, or do you have it?
Not unless you want to read it again.
No, you just go right ahead.
Okay. I surrender. I surrender. Help me to surrender.
Nice. Beautiful. Yes, come on up.
I don't have my glasses. I hope I can read this. I have only one desire, and that is the desire for solitude, to disappear into God, to be submerged in God's peace, to be lost in the secret of God's face. O God, I beseech you to infuse my every cell with your light and to weave your love into my heart and soul so that I may carry your light and love everywhere I go. Let me honor the sacredness of every living being on our beloved earth.
Thank you. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Very beautiful. Anyone else here at Namaste Village want to share before we turn to the Zoom group? Come on up, Chris. Okay. That is dissolving. Fully dissolved. Silencio. All right, we're going to go ahead and turn to the Zoom room now. I see that George has his hand up. So George, go ahead and unmute and go ahead and share what came through you. And sorry for the music in the background. Our neighbor seems to be celebrating.
I have only one desire.
You have to unmute. Oh, wait, no. Hold on, George. That was my fault. Okay, go ahead.
I have only one desire, and that is the desire for solitude, to disappear into God, to be submerged in God's peace, and to be lost in the secret of God's face. When I do this, I finally release all of my separation and fear of oneness with God, and I see and feel the divine love I am, and I finally know the truth of who I am.
Know the truth of who I am. To know that, not to believe it, but to truly know it. Thank you, George. Flo, good morning to you. Why don't you go ahead?
Oh, wonderful to be with you again. Um, okay, I have only one desire, and that is the desire for solitude, to disappear into God, to be submerged in God's peace, to be lost in the secret of God's face. And being lost in you, I am finally found. My face shines in the light of your love, and the secret is revealed.
Amen. Thank you, Flo. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay, Mirna, why don't you go ahead? Make sure you unmute. There we go.
I have only one desire, and that is the desire for solitude, to disappear into God, to be submerged in God's peace, to be lost in the secret of God's face. I am like a lovely snowman, black eyes, orange nose. But what I want is for this image to be dissolved, to be dissolved into the love of God.
Beautiful. Yetsky, go right ahead. And then we're going to turn to Vicky after that. Oh, are you? We can't hear you, Yetsky. You're not muted, though. Speak again. Your voice is not coming through, dear one. I don't know why. Something with your microphone, I think. I don't think it's going to happen. If you don't have your microphone hooked up somehow, you're not muted, so it's not on our end. Sorry, dear one. Nice try, though. But we feel you. We can feel it. So, Vicky, we're going to turn to you now. What would you like to share with us?
Thank you, Brother James. First, I really want to thank you for kind of giving a framework of what this experience always is that we come to every day. And that one word, contemplative, kind of, I don't know, opened up that understanding for me so well that literally we are a contemplative, open community without walls. And that is our daily call, and that is the experience we all join to come to every day. And my answer, or the line that just came to me very quickly, naturally, was, help, Holy Spirit, help. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And then later it came, please let the ego waters part in me. Just let those waters of identity. Yesterday we were talking about one problem, one solution, and it is simply one problem, whether we call it love or fear or our identity. Are we a soul or are we an ego, a personality? And quiet is the way that it parts. The ego identity falls away, and it may come back. But what I realized we're left with in those moments of true rest, whatever that experience is, we come back with a knowing that sustains us, that is greater than any other experience we think we are having here as bodies, that knowing that we come back with, even from a moment of rest. It may not be a complete experience or a revelation where perception drops away completely, but we always come back with a knowing that that becomes the next higher platform that we live on here, even in perception. So thank you all, and I love you all, and I'm very grateful for this contemplative community.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Thank you, Vicky. This is good for us to know that this is why we're here, to enter into the secret of God's face, to dissolve completely that part of us that constantly seeks attention. Look at me, acknowledge me. Have any of you ever been in a relationship where you don't feel like you're being acknowledged? And you'll even say to them, well, why aren't you acknowledging who I am? Why don't I acknowledge who I am? The truth of who I am, not the identity I am or the small I am. So when we realize the tension that creates when we seek attention, you can only let it go when you realize it. Until then, it's like this hum in the back of your mind that you don't really notice. When you notice it, it's like, how could I not have noticed that before? There is a tension in my mind whenever I seek attention. Dump. And the music ends. For now. So thank you, everyone. You know, this reminds me, this music in the background reminds me of a screenplay I wrote. It was for a short film, and it was called Mexican Radio. And it was about this guy who, something happened, he fell and he hit his head. And from that moment on, there was a Mexican radio station that he could not get out of his head. It was like a radio receiver, and it was constantly playing music like this in his head, and he couldn't stand it. And he did everything to try and get rid of it, and it was only when he just surrendered and said, okay, I guess I'm just gonna have to start liking this kind of music, that he finally found peace. I'm sure there's a lesson in there somewhere. So thank you, everyone. And we say together, Amen, 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 y punto. Have a beautiful week. Namaste.
I love you.
I love you all.
Namaste.
Namaste.
You all.